In this year's annual enrollment, we wanted you to know that you have a local solution for all your medical
Oh, hey, serious. Got a good little show tonight, man. Got Coach Edwards on with us, and we're going to talk a little bit of Leopardette fast pitch softball. Coach, first and foremost, man, thanks for taking out a little bit of time in your evening, jumping on here with us. We appreciate it, buddy.
Absolutely, I appreciate you guys having me.
You bet. Anytime.
So you guys ready for your trivia questions, or do you got something?
No, go ahead. You're good. Go ahead.
Okay. So, Coach, I think you've been on before. We've done this before, haven't we?
I don't believe we've done the podcast.
Okay, so I apologize. So when we start the podcast, when we have a guest on, we play a game called Do You Know More Than Jake? And so basically how this works is I ask you guys 3 trivia questions and see if you can give me the correct answer. And by the sounds, the noises in the background, I'm confident, Coach, that you know the answer to the first question. Are you ready?
We'll see. Yeah.
Who is the main character in the movie Frozen?
Oh, well, yeah, that's definitely right up my alley. I could probably name about all the characters on Frozen, but for the main character, I'm going to go with Elsa.
Okay, Jake, would you agree or disagree?
No, I'm gonna agree.
All right, that is correct. Jake, you ready for your?
Yeah, that's right.
Are you ready for your question?
Let's go.
How many days are there in a year? Days in a year.
365.
Coach, you agree or disagree?
I'm going to agree with that.
Okay, you're both correct again. And Coach, you're going to draw the final question. What do pandas eat? What do pandas eat?
I believe that pandas eat bamboo.
Jake, do you agree or disagree?
I'll agree.
Okay, you guys are tied, so I guess we're on an even playing field. Y'all had fun.
Is that the first 3 for 3?
That's the first 3 for 3. Well, actually, Coach Cater got all 3 of his questions correct.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
but this is the first time that. Well, yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
you know why? I mean, hey guys, since we're talking softball, I decided to give you guys some softball questions.
Oh, man, you just stole what I was going to say. Completely, man. Okay. Anyway, no. In all seriousness, though, Coach, again, appreciate you jumping on, having a little fun with us this evening. But real quick, just talk about your girls. There was one change I noticed here I believe it was one day last week. Top of your batting order, you had actually rotated Chloe Bassard down. I think she was batting in the 6th hole that evening, and you'd moved Reese Flood up. Me and Tandra, we kind of talked about it, and she said that Chloe seemed okay with it, and whatever makes the team better type of mentality. So just talk a little bit about that and what's that, what that's done for your team moving forward.
Yeah, Chloe, she's being a senior. Chloe's played a lot of softball in her life, and she knows she's pretty aware of what makes her comfortable, and has a lot of self-awareness about her game. And she came to me and asked me, if she could move down and maybe take a little bit of that pressure off to try to get her back in the groove. And so I trust her quite a bit. And so whenever she come to me and asked me that, I said, yeah, let's give it a shot. What do we got to lose? She was kind of in a slump. And so I said, what do we got to lose? And we moved her down there to about, I believe the 6 is where she's at right now. Moved Reese up, and really I think it's worked out well for both of them. Reese has been on a pretty good tear. I think her batting average has gone up about, I want to say like 200 points since that move in a pretty short amount of time. And Chloe started to hit the ball better too. That slapper, in general, my philosophy, I like to have girls at the top and at the bottom that can run. So the 6 hole, I wasn't real sure where I was going to put her, but I have had some success with that type of hitter in the 6 slot before, and it kind of works out, or has worked out so far, where a lot of times that second inning after we go through the first inning, she actually leads off anyways. It's just in the second inning instead of the first, and so it's nice to kind of almost, you could call it a second leadoff, for that second inning. So it really has worked into a pretty good role for her, where we've kind of just left it. It's kind of a little bit of a, if it isn't broke, don't fix it type of thing at this point.
Yeah, and that speaks a lot about her to realize, hey, I'm in a little bit of a jam right now. I'm, as you called it, a little bit of a slump. And, for her to come to you, like you mentioned that, she's a senior, but for her to come to you and say, hey, coach, I'm all for you moving me around. Let's do something, that way we can get runners on base. Because you're right. And I'm not, by any means, I'm not knocking on Chloe, but she was in a little bit of a slump. I mean, it's one of those things where it becomes almost mental. It just starts weighing on you, and you go up there and you're thinking, well, am I going to fly out? Am I going to ground out or line out, whatever the case may be, or strike out? And so for her to come to you and say, hey, if this is going to help us improve, I'm all for it. That says a lot about her. So hats off to her. And I noticed the other night, after you had made that change, her first time up, she went up there, looked more comfortable, looked like she was ready to, get up there, swing the bat. And I want to say that first AB she had, I think she got on, or maybe had an RB. I can't remember, but all those games, y'all play so many, they kind of run together,
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, Chloe's a competitor, and I think above all, she just wants to win. And so, if that's what needs to happen for us to win, then I think that's what she's for. And there's such a mental side to hitting. If nothing else, this game is going to teach you how to deal with failure, and at some point, everybody is going to fail. She's not the only one. We've had a few girls now who are going through a slump, and I've kind of told them, it's a tough spot, because the more you dig at it and the harder you try to get out of it, a lot of times the hole just gets deeper and deeper until you can finally relax. And once you're able to relax, that's whenever you're going to come out of it. And sometimes it takes something weird to happen. You hit one off your hands and it just kind of bloops in behind the first baseman, and all of a sudden the floodgates are open, or you lay down a bunt and get on that way, and then the ball starts to look a little bigger every time you go to the plate, and you work your way out of it. But if you can't relax, it makes it very hard to get out of those situations.
Yeah, you have a tendency to go up there and start pressing.
Absolutely.
You're not comfortable, and you're almost trying too hard. And I can kind of relate. To golf. I play a bunch of golf, and go out on the golf course and just be trying too hard rather than just going and playing. Just kind of willy nilly. And just laid back, just let the club do the work. Where with you guys, let the bat do the work. Just let it come to you. You've been doing it long enough. You've been doing it for years. Just let it rip, man. So yeah.
That's right. In fact, I think I said after one of the one of the games, I said this to Chloe. I said, you didn't all of a sudden start stinking at softball. I mean, you've been a good player. You're still going to be a good player. It's not like something just switched automatically. So you just got to go out there and be yourself again, pretty much.
Hey, Coach, one thing that is talked about in the softball circles is how stacked your team is there at the pitching position. Talk to us a little bit about how nice it is to have such a good stable of pitchers there ready to go.
Yeah, it is. I hate to call it a blessing and a curse, but it does make it a little tougher. It's very easy to fill out the lineup whenever I only had one pitcher. You know who you're going to write down in that spot every time. And to have, 4 pitchers that all have a lot of experience pitching and getting people out, it makes it tough to try to get everybody the innings they deserve. The last time I looked, I think as a team, our ERA was like a 2.9 or something like that.
Wow.
And so, there's not a lot of bad decisions when whoever you run out there, but it can be difficult to get all of them innings. They all want to pitch, and that's a positive because, like I said, they're competitors and they want to win. So, we just got to try to do our best to get them as much time as we can. And the good news is they all are good softball. They're not just pitchers; they're softball players. If they're not pitching, they can contribute other ways as well. But it's not something that I have had a lot of. There's been a lot of years there where we had one pitcher, and that's what we went with. So I'm hoping that by having more than one, maybe all of their pitching careers can be prolonged a little bit. We're not going to have to worry about arm trouble or anything like that. They can take some of the pressure off of each other.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going to talk about real quick. Just to have, and the fast pitch, the underarm, they are underhand. They say that's the proper way to be throwing a ball. They say over the top. It can wear and tear on you, and you can attest to that too. Being a baseball coach, you guys, you might have a guy come out and say he goes 3 or 4 innings, or just call it 5 innings. Well, he's on a pitch count, and then say you turn right around and play a game the next night, you got to trot somebody else out there. Where with softball, it's a little bit different, obviously a different motion, but to have, like you mentioned, 4 solid ones that you can throw out there on any given night, as you said, it makes your job easy, but it can also it can be a little bit troublesome for you too.
Right. Yeah. There are no pitch count rules in softball like they instituted in baseball, and really the game has evolved a little bit in that. When we first started, like around here, I know college softball is very popular, and when I first started watching college softball, it was kind of the same thing in college. Everybody had one pitcher that they really rode hard, and you still see that a little bit. The girl from James Madison a couple of years ago was like that.
Yes.
They really just kind of rode her arm to as long as they could. But you have started to see some of those other programs. They're using they're using 2, 3, maybe even 4 pitchers. You'll see the same team run 2 or 3 different pitchers at least out in the World Series that they feel like they trust. And honestly, I think it's going to be good because I think it is going to help prolong the health and the careers of all of them doing that way. And also you can give people different looks. All the 4 pitchers that we have, they do different things. There's different pitches that they feel like are their best pitch, and so it does give you options if somebody's not they have scouted us or they think they've got one girl figured out. Well, we can give them a different look too. So
yeah, absolutely.
And then you've had, go ahead, Jake. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to talk about. Have you heard anything from as far as Chickasha goes? I know we set up down here the other evening right before the storm rolled in, and obviously, guys, you weren't able to get that game in. But have any news on that? Whether it's going to be made up at some point, or how you guys are going to approach that?
She told me that she was going to see if she has any dates open and going to send those to me. I told her since they drove over and we didn't get a chance to play that I owe her a trip to Chickasha. Thankfully, it's not a long ways, but I told her that we'd drive over there since they already made the trip. Yeah. So we don't have a date yet, but hopefully we can get that matched up. Sometimes it's hard at this point because you may have one date and the chances that they match up are tough, but hopefully it works out.
Right.
And Coach, when you look up and down your roster, you got what I think 2 seniors, but you've got a lot of young girls in there that are really filling in those gaps, and probably even if there might have been some upperclassmen, it looks like some of these younger girls might have made the cut. Talk a little bit about that. How nice it is to have such a good stable of young ladies that are ready to go.
Yeah, you know, we've I told the girls we've probably faced about as much adversity this season as any year that I have had so far. With obviously, KK's injury. She's been our starting shortstop for 3 years, and her not being available. And then we've had a couple other girls that we thought were going to be a part of it that it didn't happen, and so there are some gaps there that we had to fill that I didn't expect to have to fill. And I really am proud of the way that those younger girls, they kind of got thrown into the fire maybe before I thought they were going to be ready, but they have really done pretty well, and maybe even I would say exceeded my expectations a little bit as to how they performed so far. And that's really good. You hope to be able to sustain success. You're really hoping for 3, maybe 4 girls out of every class that can play and contribute. And if you can do that, then it makes it a lot easier to keep the program going in the right direction year after year. And so some of those girls that maybe I didn't necessarily think were going to be a big part of it this year, but maybe we're going to the next year. Well, now they're doing well, and they're going to have that year of experience going into next year. Whenever we lose Chloe and Brayley, we'll have just that much more experience next year whenever that happens. And really, I don't get to talk about the junior high team a lot, but this kind of applies to that. The junior high team has been doing really well. They finally suffered their first loss the other day at Marlowe, but they were undefeated up to that point, and really, to be honest, hadn't played a lot of games close. I mean, they've been beating some people pretty good, and so they're a really fun group. The best thing about the junior high group is they love to practice and be out there, and they listen really well, and try to do what you tell them to do. And for that reason, I think that they're really improved also. So I look forward to what those girls can add to the team next year also.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned them. That's kind of how I was gonna end this deal here. Talking about them. Leopardette softball is in really, really good shape right now, Coach. I mean, you obviously know that from the squad you have right now, high school wise, and then down to the junior high, all the way around. I mean, I think by the time some of these 8th graders are freshmen, sophomores, and even just call it their entire 4 years of ball with you, they're going to be competing for hopefully state championships. I mean, it's a loaded group of girls that you got coming through. So, man, like I said, it's Leopardette softball's in really good hands. So, best of luck to you rest of the season for sure. But before I let you go, man, I got to ask you this weekend, college football kicking off.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you like Saturday? Or obviously, I mean, you're going to say OU. I mean, they're going up against UTEP. So, give me a score. What are you thinking there in Norman?
Oh boy, I don't know. I went to school at OSU for a year, but I would still consider myself to be a OU football fan.
Right.
And
I knew there was something I liked about you, Coach.
I'm really excited about Coach Venables and the direction that I think that he is going to take them. And to be honest with you, I'm most excited about what the defense is going to look like. So to be honest with you, I don't know that I really care how many points we score, but I hope the other side says 0 at the end of the game.
There you go.
And they're just, they get out and get after it and kind of hit them in the mouth early.
What about Stillwater tomorrow night? OSU going up against Central Michigan.
Yeah, I think that would be a little bit closer. Last time, I just hope the referees don't get involved. Like last time they played Central Michigan, they got the chance to kick it when they weren't supposed to. So hopefully that doesn't happen. But I also think that their defensive line is going to be really good. So I think they may may give Central Michigan some problems there. And same thing, score enough points to 20 points, I think, is about the spread. I could see that about 21, 24-point win for the Cowboys.
Well, all right, Coach. Sounds like you got both Oklahoma schools getting the win this weekend to move to 1-0 in college football. And like I said, man, hey, we appreciate you jumping on here real quick with us and talking a little softball and getting a little football in here towards the end. So we'll catch up with you down the road, Coach. We appreciate it, man.
Sounds good.
And
thank you, guys.
for those of you that are tuned in, stay tuned. We're going to be right back. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We're going to come back and we're going to talk a little Leopard football and some OSU football. Thanks, Coach.
8343. And we look forward to hearing from you.
And welcome back to and my apologies, whenever we opened the show, you missed the introduction. So I'll go ahead and give it one more time. Jake, the volume was muted, so I'll give it back one more time. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome once again to the only podcast featuring the man with a black heart that bleeds orange. And at this point, I've got to stop and make an apology to everyone. A few weeks ago, I lied to you, and it was unintentional. But I told you that he's the man that has a leopard head tattooed on his tush. That was wrong. It was a lie. It is not a tattoo. His mother has confirmed. She does not lie. It is actually a birthmark. Give it up for the one and only Jake Rutledge.
It really kind of makes me cringe you had to do that again, but yeah, I got a text message here from Ken here. She said, I can't hear you, no sound. So yeah, definitely no leopard tattoo there on the tush. But again, yeah, thanks Coach Edwards for jumping on with us, man. We appreciate that. Talking a little leopardette softball, and even got a little football knowledge out of him there towards the end. So he can talk all sports for sure. But that's what we're going to kind of jump into here real quick. Just a little recap of last Friday night. Leopards hosted the Pauls Valley Panthers down here at Burford Field the other evening, and Battle of Highway 19, and didn't quite shake out the way the Leopard faithful would like it. Leopards ended up getting beat 21-12. Just sitting there watching it, Robert. I mean, it kind of seemed like obviously both squads kind of started slow. Really didn't have much traction, and that's to be expected. Week 0, everybody's still kind of trying to get into the groove of everything, and then Pauls Valley offensively, nothing spectacular. It's not like they were throwing it all over the field and had a plethora of running backs. It was more or less the Justin Humphrey show. He and we talked about that leading up to it, just what kind of dual threat he could be. He did complete a couple of passes there, but that really wasn't what hurt the Leopards. It was Humphrey on his legs. Is what did the most damage. And at the end of the night, only giving up 21 points this day and age in high school football. 21 points is nothing. That most first quarters is 21 points, but it's just one of them deals. Leopards offensively wasn't really able to get much traction going, and really didn't have much of an answer for Humphreys. But it's kind of like me and Eric talked before we signed off the other evening. Coaches, and players, I'm sure they hit the film room hard all week this week and got their ducks in a row and coming out this Friday here in a couple of days. You're hosting the neighbors from up north, the Dibble Demons, and got to come out ready to play. You definitely don't want to start in an 0-2 hole, this early on in the season.
Yeah, I've watched that game a couple of times, and I just personally feel like the better team did not win. I feel like our boys should have won that game. I feel like they were the better team. I just think maybe they were caught just a little bit off balance. Maybe they didn't expect, like you were talking about. I don't think they expected that little quarterback to come out swinging the way he did, and we got caught a little bit flat-footed. Here's the way I look at it. It wasn't a district game. It doesn't really matter. So, honestly, Jake, whenever I watch it, I'm not down. It doesn't bother me. I mean, obviously I wanted the boys to win, but I watch the game and I go, hey, we've got a shot here. We got a fantastic team. They're well coached. The kids are, they just slipped up and accidentally got beat. And I think they're going to learn from it, and I think they're going to steamroll this season.
Well, and two, I mean, kind of like you were saying, they might have been caught a little off guard because you're coming in and you're not seeing, with it being a week 0 matchup, you don't get a whole ton of film on Humphreys. You're getting some of his stuff from last year, but you don't have, say 2 or 3 weeks of actual this season's footage on him, So that's a good point. Could have been caught a little off guard, but there was definitely some positives out there. Talk real quick about Bentley Kessler. He come up big time, 4th down. I believe it was like 4th and 13 or something like that is what Pauls Valley had there, that first possession. Humphreys actually hit Jaggers on a little out route. He would have had enough for the first down. Kessler come flying in, put hat on ball, knocks the ball loose, He also had an interception later on, scored a touchdown in that ball game. So Bentley Kessler had a great night. Jump to the defensive side of the ball. And Coach Hembry kind of, mentioned this kid the other evening when we had it last Wednesday, Wyatt April. Mentioned his name a handful of times the other evening. Flies to the ball, has a nose for the ball. He's not afraid of contact. He's gonna get in there and bang heads. Ethan Childers, he was another one we called over and over and over on the defensive side of the ball. Jones, another one that we mentioned a handful of times. So it's there, like you were saying. Hey, you take it and you learn from it. It's a learning experience. It was just a week 0 matchup. It does go on your overall record, but as far as district points, district standings, it don't have a darn thing to do with it. So basically just jump back in the film room all week this week, practice hard, get ready to come out and put on a good showing for homecoming this Friday night. I think Lindsay ought to be able to handle Dibble pretty handily. I don't expect any kind of anything too crazy from them. I got a few notes here on them.
Jake, I think our boys. I think they're fundamentally sound. They've got it down. I feel like I wasn't able to make the game, but I got to watch the playback. Whenever I heard we got beat, I was kind of down, thinking, man, that maybe they're not as good as we thought they were going to be. But after I watched the film, I think it was just, I think maybe at the end of the season we may look back at this game and go, man, I'm glad that happened. I'm glad they got caught off guard. So it taught them a lesson to strap up their belt a little bit tighter and get with it.
Yeah. Real quick on Dibble, last year, 21 campaign, they were 5-6. Coach Norman up there, obviously not the season he probably, wanted or expected. They do have a little running back named Jag Norman. Goes about 5'11", about 195 pounds. I believe he ran a little over 800 yards plus last season. I think he had 12 total touchdowns. So, going to definitely have to, key in on him, keep him corralled. Another guy will be their quarterback, Trey Ott. Goes about 6'3", 205. He's another tall, lanky kid. Just a sophomore, so might still be a little bit wet behind the ears. And offensively, they're going to go fast. They're going to run an up-tempo kind of pace, and they're not going to be as slow and methodical as Pauls Valley was the other night, where Pauls Valley was, they were a lot of times, I don't know if you noticed or not, but they were getting their plays in with about 12 seconds, to go on the play clock. And then Humphreys was running the clock down to, a little bit of nothing before he actually got the snap. So, and that ended up being a big deal, a big stat to look back on. I wish we would have, had time of possession, because if you look back on it, I guarantee you time of possession, Pauls Valley had a lot more than what Lindsay did.
Yeah.
So,
and Jake, that's kind of what I was hitting on a while ago. And it seemed like our boys were just wanting to come out of the chutes running full speed ahead. And it just almost seemed like they were getting a little bit, it was knocking them off. But the way Pauls Valley was controlling the clock was knocking them a little bit off balance.
Oh yeah, and that's what the time of possession does. It kept that Leopard defense out there on the field, and it eventually wore them down. And like I said, you only give up 21 points. That's not a ton of points, but at the end of the night, it definitely was enough. And as we talked about, Lindsay ended up falling 21-12, but that's the name of the game. That's how the cookie crumbles. Put it that way. It's just it's one of those deals you got to take from it and learn. And I got 100% faith that Coach Embry and the guys, they hit the locker room, and I'm sure he gave them a little speech, and said, hey, let's regroup, reset, rest up, ice up, do what you got to do, get ready to go next week. And I look for a different Leopard team this week.
Yeah, absolutely. I do too. I think, like I say, I feel a whole lot. I felt better about it, even after watching they got caught off guard, maybe a little frustrated because of the tempo of the game, and I think they're going to use it as a learning experience, and they're going to move on and go on to do some good stuff.
And two, not to take anything away from Pauls Valley, that's a 3A squad. They're going to be, I think they'll be a force in their district. They should. I'm not sure who they have. I had it wrote down who they were playing this coming week, but I look for Pauls Valley to be a pretty solid team. So, like you were saying earlier, looking back, say we're week 8, 9, 10, something like that. We look back on week 0. If we look back and Pauls Valley's sitting there at like 6-2 or something like that, we're going to say, hey, that was a pretty good squad that rolled in here to Lindsay and left that Battle of 19 trophy. So, it's just part of it, man. You win some, you lose some. So, just got to regroup and get ready to go this week.
Yeah. So you want to move on and talk a little? You talked a little college ball earlier. Do you remember we were talking the other day, and I'd mentioned there was the OSU had played Central Michigan before. Did you get a chance to research that game?
Yeah, that was one that Coach Edwards kind of alluded to there. That was it's been a few years back. They were actually up there in Mount Pleasant. They're in Michigan, and OSU came in kind of like this year. They're favored by three touchdowns, something like that. Just call it 20. I don't remember what the spread was that year, but OSU was the heavy favorite, and they almost laid an egg that night there in Central Michigan. Just about got beat, but that's just kind of the way that's the way college football is, especially in the early going. These matchups, and for whatever reason, and don't get me wrong, I love me some OSU, but it seems like sometimes they come out of the gates just flat. And in Central Michigan this year, they've got enough athletes on the offensive side of the ball. They got a little running back and a receiver that are athletes that are going to be able to make some plays. So hopefully, you lose Malcolm Rodriguez and Kobe Harvell-Peel. Another guy transferred to Ohio State. He took off with Knowles. You lose 3 legit studs. 2 of those, obviously the other one, he's playing in Columbus Saturday. But the other 2 that I mentioned, they made NFL rosters this year. Malcolm Rodriguez with Detroit Lions. I'm blanking on where Harville Pill went, but both made rosters. So you lose 2 NFL talent, caliber linebackers. Hopefully, whoever they're plugging in tomorrow there at the linebacker position, it's got some experience and is ready to go. I agree with Coach Edwards. I don't think the defensive line is
So
going to miss.
do you know what their Central Michigan's mascot is?
Yeah, it's the Chippewas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jared Works on here saying "Go Chippewas."
Imagine that. Yeah. Come on, man. You don't hear me tooting the UTEP Miners horns. Golly. Jeez. But hey, thanks for jumping on, Jared. We appreciate you tuning in. So, but yeah,
speaking of that,
I think OSU gets it done tomorrow night. With that being said, Central Michigan might play them inside the spread. It might be less than 20 tomorrow. Just put it that way. I mean, they're not going to.
Do you know what could be important about this game tomorrow, Jake?
Aside from starting the season,
it could end up being Mike Gundy's 150th career win as a head coach.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I just read that. So,
nah, you got that stored away.
I promise. I just Googled it. OSU versus Central Michigan, and it popped up. Could be his 150th win for the number 12 ranked Oklahoma State Cowboys.
I did see a stat a little bit earlier. It was all-time wins at OSU, and it was Mason Rudolph. He was up there I think 35, and then of course Mike Gundy. I think he had 28. And Sanders, he's been in Stillwater. What's this, like his 8th year or something like that?
Yeah,
been there forever. I think he's got 25 wins. So look for him to pass Gundy at some point this season, and going to have
And I want to talk about that. Well, since we got a little time, I don't know if we've ever discussed my theory on that, but if I'm a college coach. Personally, I don't want a 5th-year starter as a quarterback. Now, I know a lot of people's going to look at that and go, oh, well, Robert, that means you got experience. But I look at it on the other end of spectrum like, that means you've got a guy that isn't quite good enough to move on. And, that dadgum Sanders kid, that was I went to that game, and that was the only time that I'm talking about the Big 12 championship. And I cheered, and it hurt my pride like you will never believe. But I cheered for OSU.
That's
and that boy laid a big old egg. I mean, it was terrible. And I'm looking at it going, do you really want to start this guy, or do you want to move on? I don't know.
What do you think Gundy was thinking? After he Sanders had the game he did against OU in Bedlam. He threw 2 picks that night. Should have thrown a third that should have went for a pick 6.
Yeah,
which old boy dropped it. We know how that game ended up. They go down to Dallas. Big 12 championship, and did everything under the sun, just basically to hand that game to Baylor.
Yes,
couldn't get in the end zone from the 2-yard line or whatever it was. That happened to be the end zone I was sitting in, and I don't even want to think about it, man. It hurt. It all around sucked. It was no fun. I mean, it was a good trip. Don't get me wrong. Even got to rub shoulders with Traber and Mark Rogers afterwards, but. That's one of them deals, he comes out and he's bad that day. And then the first half in the Fiesta Bowl against Notre Dame, he didn't turn the ball over a lot, but he just wasn't that good. Like he was off. And then all of a sudden, they mount that comeback and defense settles in and the rest is history. They end up winning the Fiesta Bowl.
Right.
For Oklahoma State to knock off Texas, Oklahoma, and Notre Dame, all three in the same season, that's a big deal. That's a big deal if you're an OSU fan.
No, I agree, but I mean, you got a point, but I'm not I'm not a fan of a 5th-year starter. Now, had he set, if he was, maybe his 2nd year as a star, I don't know. I'm kind of look at it like, man, if you're not good enough to put us over the hump last year, year before, you're probably not going to do it this year. And I don't know.
He's turnover prone.
He's very inconsistent.
When he, and this is going to sound kind of goofy, but when he has to think, when he really has to, make a decision, if he can't just go out there and backyard football it, that's when he's not that good, when he actually has to make a logical decision. If he can just go out there and free willy, willy-nilly, just go with it, that's when he's at his best. And
yeah,
I think he was pressing, in the Big 12 championship. He was trying to do too much because Warren, their running back, was out. He was their workhorse most of the season, running the ball. So I think Sanders thought, hey, I got to throw this team on my back and go get this thing done myself. And that ain't the case. They had plenty of weapons and third best defense in the country last year. Pin it on your defense, just let your offense come to you. But it is what it is. It's behind us now, and he's gonna have his work cut out tomorrow because Central Michigan, dude, they're gonna come in and they're gonna be ready to play, and they're gonna come in with that, hey, what do we got to lose mentality? If we win, everybody, oh my God, Central Michigan did this, did that. They come in and get beat by 3 or 4 touchdowns. Well, we were touchdown underdogs. So folks just got to come out and be ready to go tomorrow.
So what's your thoughts on a score, Jack?
I'll say 31-17 OSU. And I will write that down for you.
Man, I see. So I'm gonna be honest with you. I've got them winning by a little bit. I've got them scoring a few more points than that. I'm thinking they're going to score in the 40s.
Yep.
Let's say, I don't know, Lord. 45 points. Let's say they're going to score 45 points, but I've got Central Michigan. I think they're going to score a few more too. I think that OSU's lost enough on defense that maybe they might pull it off to maybe in the low 30s. Let's say 31, 32, 32, 45, 32.
45-32. That's a weird number, but okay. We'll go with
I'm
it.
just pulling numbers out of the air.
So that'll lead us to Norman Saturday afternoon. What's that? Is that 2:30 kick or is it 6 o'clock?
It's a 2:30 kick, and I will be there.
So UTEP coming into town.
I'll be there.
Not gonna lie, I don't know much about UTEP other than they play in the Mountain West, I believe, is the conference they're out of. The Miners. Do you know what UTEP used to be called before it became?
I don't. What was it?
Texas Western.
Really?
Yep.
Interesting.
But yeah, Oklahoma's going to be intriguing this year. Obvious reasons. New ball coach, Brent Venables. They bring Smitty back in as their strength and conditioning coordinator. Defensive coordinator. Who is the DC up there this year?
Roof. But I mean, listen, we all know who the defensive coordinator is.
Right. Yeah. It'll be coming through Venables' headset. So.
I'm going to tell you. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I'm anxious to see how Venables is on the sidelines. As a defensive coordinator, he had that big get back guy there at Clemson, that always had him by the belt loop, pulling him back. That was as a DC. Well, now he's running the show. He's got a lot of more, responsibility there on the sidelines. Do you think he's going to be quite as animated and quite as fiery, during the game? Now, I'm sure, certain plays here and there, he might light somebody up, but the entire game, the way he did there at Clemson, do you think he'll be like that, Norman?
Jake, I don't. This is going to be. Listen, I have been watching every coach's interview that they have.
Mhm.
I'm not only worried about him. I'm worried about, like, have you seen that Miguel Chavez kid or that? I mean, listen, these guys are. They're gonna. I don't know. They remind me a lot of him.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you can imagine 6 or 8 of him running around on the sidelines, it's going to get crazy.
Yeah.
I really think it's going to be fun to watch.
Hey, can you name the last left-handed quarterback to start at the University of Oklahoma?
Oh man, man, I heard this the other day. It was Josh Heupel?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Come in.
they were talking about how interesting that is. That, I mean, there's a lot of parallels between him and so I don't know. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah. Gabriel, he'll be interesting to see. What do they have him listed, like 5'11" or something? But a lot of
Yeah.
he might be well under that 5'11" mark. So, but hey, I mean, Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, both little bitty guys, and you remember what those guys did.
Oh yeah, yeah. I don't know. The game is so much different. I heard them talking a little bit about that the other day, about the shorter quarterbacks and the success they're having. But Gabriel, to me, I'm interested. I mean, Lord, look at what he done down there in Florida. I mean, he put up some ridiculous numbers. Now, with that said, there's a couple of offsetting factors. It could very easily be said, well, he wasn't facing, the defenses weren't as good as what he's going to face. But you can also flip that around and go, well, the wide receivers weren't as good either. So it's going to be interesting. Now, I'll tell you, to me, Jake, what's going to be more interesting than that is to see how the offense is going to be ran, because we got to remember that offensive coordinator up there, he's never really ran an offense himself. And I know he's been the offensive coordinator, Jeff Lebby has been the offensive coordinator, but here's something you got to remember. Every coach he's ever played under has been an offensive coach. So it's kind of like the Ted Roof thing up there. You didn't even know his name because, let's be honest, we all know who's going to be running that defense. It's going to be Brent Venables. So I'm going to be more interested to see what Jeff Lebby's first true offense looks like.
Right. No, that's a good point. But like I said, I mean, UTEP, another crazy thing. Last time Oklahoma won the national championship, you know who they opened the season up with?
UTEP.
So,
yep. Yeah, that was one of the parallels.
They played Nebraska that same year. They're playing Nebraska in Lincoln this year. So, golly, talk about a dumpster fire there. Did you watch that game Saturday?
I watched the end of it. Yeah, it was spectacular.
Nebraska goes down and scores. Northwestern, I think they were up 2 touchdowns at the time. Nebraska goes down and scores, pulls it to 1 touchdown. On the ensuing kickoff, we're talking midway through the third quarter, Frost has an onside kick. He kicks an onside kick. Well, Northwestern recovers it. Great starting field position. What do they do with it? They go like 8 plays and 65 yards or whatever and go score. What are you doing? Kick it deep. Go play defense. Get the ball back. Like you're in the ball game, Frost. I mean, that guy.
I look at a lot of these plays and I go, if that would have worked out, we'd be sitting here going, what a genius. Who would have thought of that? So, I mean, but Lord have mercy. They're just terrible.
That might have been, that Nebraska might not lose a game the rest of the year. Who knows? But I'm sure they will. But that was just one of them deals. I'm sitting there going, what? Why would you do that right there? Well, put your defense back out there. Pin them deeper than what you had them, But what it is.
My buddy Riley Smith, he's been telling us all year, all summer, Nebraska's going to beat us. That's the game we're going to lose. And he had actually called me before we went on, and I wasn't able to talk to him. But I haven't got a chance to talk to him, but I'm anxious to see if he's changed his tune a little bit.
I think so. If he's changed his mind. So
you think he has?
I would hope.
He's pretty stubborn, though. He might stick to his guns.
Yeah. So what? Far as the score goes, what do you do? You know the spread of the game? Have you heard?
Man, I haven't, but listen,
it's got to be a big number.
I don't really know. I mean, I think we're going to go over 50, and I'm hoping they only score 3 points. Now, listen, I'm hoping for the shutout, but if they can hold them to 3 points, I will be skipping all the way to the vehicle.
So Oklahoma's a 31-point favorite.
Yeah. Crazy. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I think it's going to be a runaway train, and I don't see Brent Venables letting up. I don't see him going, we're coming out of the half going, well, we're ahead by 30-something points. Let's just I don't see him being that guy. It's a whole new ball game up there in Norman, and I think they'll come out at half, whether they're up 30 or they're up, whatever, and they're going to be on fire, and they're just going to keep lighting them up.
Well, I'll throw one out there. I'm going to say 49-21.
Oh, so you think his defense is going to slouch, huh?
I mean, you'd give up 21 points in your season opener. I wouldn't call it slouching. I think they're right there around that 14 to 17. Well, it'd be 14-point mark, and then late in the ball game, maybe UTEP gets one late, gets something cheap. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When they got some scrubs in there, so yeah, I'll say 49-21 in Norman, and then what I say 31-17 in Stillwater. So.
Yeah. Okay.
That's my turn.
I'm going to. And I'm going to make a couple of predictions. I'm going to make a prediction on offense and a prediction on defense. I'm going to predict Jalil Farouk lights them up. In fact, I think this whole year, I think he's going to own it. I think it's going to be the Mims and Farouk show, but I think this first game is going to be the Farouk show. And I think I'm looking for Key Lawrence on the defense to make some stuff happen, and I think the boys are going to snag an interception.
Yeah.
So.
Well, all right. So if you ain't going to throw any scores out there, I guess I'll let you go.
Oh, man. Let me go. I'm going to go 52-3.
Wow.
Okay. I think it's going to be a thumping, man. 52-3.
I mean, 49-21, that's a pretty good thumping too. But.
Yeah. I really think they're going to make a statement on defense, though.
Yeah.
I think those boys are they got it in their head, and another one is Woody Washington. I think he'll do something. But Key Lawrence is my guy that I'm looking at this year. So 52-3.
Real quick, over under how many times they show Smitty on the sidelines going berserk.
You mean Venables?
No, I'm saying Smitty, the strength and conditioning.
Oh, he will too. Yeah, they're all going to.
I'm gonna say 6 times they came to him on the sidelines, just losing his mind.
Man. When you said that, I was gonna say 5 or 6.
Yeah.
So
go under.
I'll go 5, man.
Okay,
Under. Yeah, I go 5. I'm gonna say 5. Nah. I don't know, man. I really think they're gonna. Yeah, it'll be him and Venables.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting. Hey, give me 5. I'll say 5. You say 6. So if it's 6 or more, you're buying lunch. If it's 5 or less, then I'm buying lunch. Or I'm sorry, vice versa.
There you go.
6 or more, you're buying lunch. 5 or less, you're buying lunch, right?
Yeah.
Are you going to agree? Hey.
Yeah. Man. All right, dude. I'm good. We're right at an hour, man.
We are. It's been fun.
We'll do it again. Real quick, Friday, join us. We'll be down at Gonzales. We'll do a little pregame down there. We'll try to do a pregame show. We had internet issues the other night down there, but if not, swing by, come see us. We'll have some stuff, stickers, koozies, whatnot. Just come by, say hi. We'll hang out down there for a little bit, and then we'll get ready to go live 7:30.
Yeah, we want to remind everybody to participate in the Player of the Month.
Absolutely.
Hey, listen, we posted that this morning, and within 5 seconds, Josh Martin's calling saying, hey, what can we do to help these kids? And so he pitched in and said, hey, let's give them a free oil change. So make those nominations, folks, because whatever kid wins that, that's a I don't know. Oil changes in my world cost about $12,000, but I'm talking about the issue with the car. When you take it to Walmart, they're going to blow the engine for you. But hey, at T&W Tire, they're not going to do that. Josh is going to take good care of you.
Josh, he'll treat you right down there.
So, anywho, participate and let's help these young folks out.
No doubt. Well, hey, everybody, thanks for jumping on. Robert, thanks for doing what you do. I appreciate it, man.
Yes, sir. We'll see you next week.
Catch you later.
Hi, I'm Ben Long, an agent with Oklahoma Healthcare Exchange. During this, I wanted you to know that you have a local solution for all your Medicare and health insurance needs. Our agents live and work throughout the entire great state of Oklahoma. Whether you're in Lindsay, Ardmore, Lawton, McAllister, or any of the major metropolitan areas. Give us a call to learn more at 855-786-8343. Again, that phone number is 855-786-8343. And we look forward to hearing from you.